everyone, welcome back to my channel Reacting Chill. I'm Dika. So last time on Bleach, we had essentially the beginning of the revolution. We had various little fights starting to kick off. We first had Yamamoto taking care of, the treacherous, apparently, Ukitake and Kuryaku, as he realised what they did was technically against what they stood for as part of the 13 Court Guard Squad. So they took their fight away from the Sokyoku and unleashing all their fantastic Sanpakutos are about to do battle. We also had Soifun and Yoruichi, Yoruichi being the previous commander of the stealth squad, and I'm assuming had Soifun, who was under her, who's now the current commander of the stealth squad. Their fight kicked off last time, as I think I mentioned this in my reaction, that Soifun feels incredibly, I felt not just let down but really angry. She took it personally, she's taking it personally, Yoruichi leaving or disappearing, or essentially even just coming back. So there's a lot of unsettled business between them. We also had the start of Byakuya and Ichigo, so we got away from that last time, but I know that Ichigo is itching to get back at Byakuya, so I can't wait to get back into that. And something else I realised last time, and I forgot to mention this, Yumichika, so his battle with I think Hisagi, he'd come back looking all fresh and all done up, not done up, but all fresh. And Hisagi was like, you know, he drained all my not energy pressure. Oh, I forgot what it's called, but spiritual. He drained. He drained all my spiritual pressure, and I was just thinking to myself, what if whatever his attack was, because when Kenpachi saw him, he was like, you look like you haven't even been in a fight. This is, you know, what happened. So whatever his attack was, I think it might have drained his spiritual pressure, aiding to his youthfulness. Maybe that's also how he stays young and stays so clean. His attack essentially has the ability to drain his opponent's spiritual pressure. I'm not sure, but going back to Soifun and Yoruichi, Soifun had Yoruichi on the ropes. I'm not saying that she was technically outclassing her, however, she definitely was giving Yoruichi a run for her money, until she, I forgot what it was called, is it the homunca? It was like this death mark she had put on her. She put the death mark on her, and then right towards the end, as the whole time Soifun was baiting out Yoruichi, saying, I'm much better than you, I'm much stronger than you, look how far I've come, sorry. And she was about to use this attack, this technique she believes, you know, she's perfected. However, Yoruichi said, actually, I know the technique you're gonna do. It was called the Shumko. I know this technique myself. And they were technically they literally used it against one another. And Yoruichi did warn her to say that, look, it's been a while since I've done this. I don't know how it's gonna turn out for you. So it was a really good episode with loads of things and loads of different battles and things kicking off. So I can't wait to see the conclusion to their fight. And obviously, if we're gonna jump into anyone else's fight. Oh, we still. The other people that weren't there at the Sokyoku was Toshiro and his lieutenant Rongiku. So they weren't there, and obviously Gin wasn't there. So I'm still wondering if they're kind of I know that he still wanted to go ahead and investigate that, Toshiro. So I'm wondering if he's still kind of working on that in the background. So yes, here we are with episodes 57 and 58. Oh shit.
Stop.
Oh.
She used a hunky sosai against me. She canceled mine out by crushing it with Kido of the same quality and strength, but with opposite spin. Tell me why. I should have surpassed you by now! I'm stronger than you! How can you be dominating me? It's not right! Why are you standing there in front of me as if you were my master?
Do you see her? There, the princess of the Shihoin clan. She She's the one who will someday become the commander of the punishment force.
Oh, so Yoruichi was a princess. Or she was the princess of her clan. Ah.
We devote everything of ourselves to her.
Everything?
Everything. Soifon, you will live only to serve that lady.
Any clan member who cannot make it into the punishment force is cast out by the family.
Damn.
Force leader!
Damn.
Stop with the commander stuff. Just address me with something simple. How about Miss Yoruichi?
Commander, that's impossible.
Are you prepared to work hard?
Yes!
You will give your life for her, Soifon. You live
That's all she was
only
ever
to serve
taught.
the commander.
You're gonna be fine.
She took her under her wing, and I could understand why. Look at the size of the hollows they're dealing with.
How can I protect Lady Yoruichi when I can't even defend myself? I must do better!
When you're ready, you'll step in. Like this.
I'm lacking in every single way.
I've even caught myself thinking of you as my little sister sometimes.
It happened so suddenly. It was such a betrayal from a person I had devoted myself to. Someone I had worshipped like a goddess. I can never forgive what you did, Yoruichi.
What was that?
Why didn't you take me with you? Oh, Lady Yoruichi.
Oh, she pulled it. That's actually really sad because even right at the end, I think all that pain and hurt Soifon was holding in was just the fact, you know what, you were my friend and you left me. Oh yeah, Byakuya and Ichigo.
I thought I felt something unusual.
Ichigo, the Ryoka. I fought him too, and I'd know that spiritual pressure anywhere.
Ryoka. Is that right?
They're just chilling. Their fight wasn't really that serious.
What's all this casual analysis of my powers? You said talk was useless, but now here you are taking it easy on me. I thought you were gonna kill me. Show your Bankai, Byakuya.
Oh, his Bankai's dangerous, Ichigo.
Come on. You act as if there's some reason it has to be this way. You say I wouldn't understand.
You will die, but it's 1,000 years too soon for you to die by my Bankai. Senbon Sakura.
Oh, did he cut his sleeve off? Oh, and he's bleeding.
All of my spiritual pressure is absorbed by my Zanpakuto. Then it gets released again in a super high density beam.
He's using Zangetsu's power finally. Like, in the swing, he's literally using the power.
There was only one who could really teach me how to use Zangetsu.
And it's Zangetsu!
That was Zangetsu himself.
The name of that attack is...
Getsuga Tensho.
Oh! That's so Getsuga Tensho. That was sick. So yeah, I was thinking this. So this goes right back to his training with Urahara when he was teaching him the stances, and he was like, you have to bring in your resolve. But the actual power when he actually concentrates and uses Zangetsu's power, is he could get this hyper beam. That's why Byakuya was shocked. Let me just write that down. Getsuga Tensho. We finally have a name for his attack.
Attack with your Bankai now!
Shit! Oh, here we go. Byakuya's not taking none of this.
Feast your eyes. Behold my Bankai.
He let go of his sword.
Yeah, because it disappeared.
Don't worry. This... Bankai. Senbon Sakura Kageyoshi.
Oh, he's going right for him. Oh! It's interesting that it's taken a form. Oh! Ichigo ain't gonna be taken down like that.
Guess it's foolish to think I could ever beat a Bankai while only using my Shikai.
That arrogant mouth of yours is going to be the death of you.
I'm not gonna say it again. You'll believe once you see it yourself.
Let's see it. Ichigo!
A Bankai? That's impossible. There's only one child in several generations has the ability to reach that level.
Oh. It's the kids from the noble families who've been able to attain Bankai, who's have their name etched into the history of the Soul Society.
He's not a noble. He wasn't even born a Soul Reaper. So how can he reach Bankai so easily?
Oh my gosh, I just thought of something. I've been saying this for the whole thing, where Ichigo has some form of connection. Everybody throughout, people have been able to recognize Ichigo's, whether it's his Sanpakuto, his form. And I used to think, what if Ichigo, one of the biggest giveaways was when Ukitake first turned up and he recognized Ichigo's spiritual pressure and even questioned it. This is something, and it's got me thinking that, especially with Byakuya going on about how it's only the people, it's like he was literally ticking off the list. It's only these people from the noble houses, only these people could reach it. So now I've got a huge theory. I have a feeling, I used to think, what if Ichigo had, like, well, again, Ichigo had the ability to become a substitute Soul Reaper. He became one by absorbing Rukia's power in the beginning. And he even said, how can he have reached Bankai so quickly? So now I have a theory that what if, because I'm comparing this to another anime, what if Ichigo's dad, I know Ichigo's dad comes across quite goofy and stuff, what if Ichigo's dad was part of the noble houses? Because we know what the noble houses are. There's a fourth one we don't know yet. And we already know that Soul Reapers can exist outside of the Soul Society because Urahara left, or they were banished, or something happened 100 years ago. Urahara left, and when he first got them into the Soul Society, or enter the Soul Society, he couldn't enter that barrier. It's almost as if it was keeping him out. So I have a feeling Ichigo's dad was, I think it was his dad more than his mum. And the reason why I just thought of this, and I was just like, shit, Tenchi Muyo, I forgot. So in Tenchi Muyo, it was, and I forgot, it was the grandfather was goofy as shit, but he was the prince who left the kingdom and all sorts. If you've seen Tenchi Muyo, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And the princess had come back to find her husband. She realized he'd come to Earth, he lived a life on Earth, he was the grandfather who used to belong to this kingdom, but Tenchi Muyo, because he was his grandson, was able to, he passed on those powers to him. Now, what if Ichigo's dad used to be a Soul Reaper, or was part of the, not Soul, he didn't even have to be a Soul Reaper, he could be part of the noble houses with a child who had the ability to reach Bankai. He didn't have to be a Soul Reaper. So my theory is Ichigo's dad was part of one of the fourth noble house, which we've not heard nothing about. Somehow made it to Earth, met Ichigo's family, because they're all, I was about to say force sensitive, they're all spiritual sensitive. So I'm saying it now, Ichigo's father was part of the final noble house. Especially all the stuff that Byakuya was ticking off has made me come to the conclusion that Ichigo's father was part of the Soul Society who might have left. Ichigo's been blessed with, he's part of one of the noble houses that were blessed. Ichigo's always been blessed with high spiritual pressure. He just didn't know how to control it, which makes sense. Yeah, we'll talk about it at the end, because this has opened up so many doors now.
It's as if
He's part of the noble houses. He's the fourth house. Oh shit.
Bankai.
Oh my god. Yeah, of course his petals would protect him. Let's see his Bankai state. Damn!
Tensa Zangetsu.
that's it. That little weapon.
What do you mean that's it? Look how cool as shit he looks. Kuchiki, just hush your face.
What you need is to be taught a lesson. I plan on...
Oh!
pride you're talking about. You can bet your ass I'm gonna mess with it.
Oh, Momo was out. Oh, Momo's out.
There should be someone guarding the front gate, but I don't see anyone.
Yeah. Well, someone's here because it's locked from the inside.
Oh.
Someone's activated the emergency defense lock.
Wonder what's going on.
There's definitely some other ulterior stuff happening.
Looks like we finally found it. The entrance to the execution grounds.
Finally.
For an instant, I completely lost sight of him.
Yeah, until he was about to, what was it, shank you in the neck.
You will regret not slitting my throat when you had the chance. A miracle only happens once.
Dams. Look at the way he's literally avoiding Senpon Sakura. Oh.
My Senpon Sakura. It can't keep up.
Oh shit.
Say so. I can move a little faster if you'd like.
Don't get too cocky. Using the palms of my hands, I'm twice as fast.
He's now using his hands.
I've got him.
Oh hey. Take that.
A miracle only happens once, huh?
Stab him!
Size combined with its intensity allow you to fight at unimaginable speed. There's nothing left for me to do but to completely crush that power.
He's got more? Oh my. Well. Where do we start? That was epic. First and foremost, Ichigo, seeing Ichigo's Bankai and him just not berating but goading on Byakuya was one of the best things. And basically Ichigo shit talking Byakuya. I love, first and foremost, I'll go on about the parallels between Byakuya and Ichigo and why I like them as sort of the two sides of the same coin, and kind of why I like their personalities and how they fit quite nicely together. But that was amazing. I mean, firstly, those are two good episodes. Going on to the first episode, we got a chance to see the conclusion to Soifun and Yoruichi's fight. We got to see their background, and like I mentioned in the reaction, Soifun, who was originally called Shaolin, their family, the Phone clan, always looked up to the Shiomen clan, and Yoruichi was the princess of the Shiomen clan. Soifun from a young age was always told that you are going to always follow this woman, you are going to idolize her, which she essentially did towards the end. You know, you're not, all you have to do is always look out for her. She is your main goal. And I suppose having that sort of ideology from a young age does mess with you, especially when you kind of center somebody as your whole have someone at the center of your whole being, and that has an effect on you, especially if that person disappears for over a century. So we got a chance. We knew that the princess of the Shiomen clan, aka Yoruichi, was going to become the captain of the execution squad, and the Phone clan, where Soifun had come up from, they either become assassins or they become assassins, and they're all about power. If they don't get onto the execution squad, they're essentially going to be cast out from the family. So it's a very cutthroat world she grew up in. But the only thing she could kind of depend on was Yoruichi, and Yoruichi was probably one of the first people to show her some form of like kindness, even though Soifun was absolutely obsessed with her. Before I go into that, I forgot to mention that the attack she was trying to use, so she cancelled out again. The more Yoruichi was fighting Soifun, the more Soifun was getting angry. She cancelled out her Shunko by giving a similar attack in the opposite direction, and she kept going at her, saying, you know, you should technically be weak because you've been in isolation for so long. How are you not weak? How am I not getting stronger than you? And I guess it rattled her, because it brought back feelings of inadequacy and always feeling inadequate to Yoruichi. Now, Yoruichi again was kind of laid back, you know, after joining the squad, 7 years later, Soifun became part of her personal guard. And she kind of took her under her wing, was like a little sister. And Soifun was really obsessed with Yoruichi at this point, you know, idolizing her. That even in terms of in the midst of battle, she felt like she had to get stronger. Yoruichi had to protect her. Yoruichi didn't think nothing of it because she was like, you know, we look out for each other, but she had to get stronger. And she also shown her utmost respect. Commander couldn't even call her Miss Yoruichi. She would always call her by Lady Yoruichi. So when she had left, you could see she felt betrayed, you know, to the point where now in this battle, I think when she did her final attack and she couldn't land a scratch on Yoruichi, she broke down crying because I guess she was still hurt, you know. She said, why do you not take me with you? You know, she always felt that attachment to her, so when she had left, she almost felt like, you should have taken me, I would have gone anywhere with you. And I felt kind of bad for Soifun because I guess it was just a misplaced anger, misplaced everything that got her to that point. And it was nice right at the end, even after everything, she still called her Miss Lady Yoruichi. So the respect was still there. I think it was just getting all that frustration and anger out between them. We got to see Tetsuzaemon and Ikaku, which was kind of nice. And again, their fight was technically going nowhere. They were just sort of chilling. And I forgot that Ikaku and Tetsuzaemon kind of came. Tetsuzaemon used to be part of Squad 11, but then he was just, I like that they were talking about their differences in opinion. Ikaku was like, you know, what, Hado and those sort of techniques they were using. He had no time for that. Whereas Tetsuzaemon said that, you know, you may think I'm a jack of all trades, but you have to be a well-balanced person. He wanted to become a lieutenant, and he worked hard in becoming a well-balanced person to become a lieutenant, and that's what he wanted to do. So they were just sitting there. You could see they had a couple of blows because they had Ikaku's secret serum on them. They were drinking sake, so they were just chilling, and obviously they were aware of Yoruichi and Soifun's fight, and they could also see and sense Byakuya and Ichigo's fight. So they were just sort of laying back, fighting, sparring, could almost say. So it was nothing serious, and I don't think it was gonna turn violent, which was actually quite nice to see because obviously across squads there were still friendships and things still intact. And obviously going on to the main event, which was when Ichigo again was going up, basically I think not just trying to get a better reaction from Byakuya. Ichigo is basically saying, come at me bruh, you know, you better release your Bankai, because then he finally used it, and finally I've been saying it, he has finally been able to, like, Ichigo mentioned that Uruhara was just teaching him the stances, but he's never actually used the move. And when you say the name of the move, it's 1,000 times stronger. So the only person who could show him how to do that was Zangetsu, and Ichigo and Zangetsu had a bit of a blockage, a barrier. They needed to learn. Ichigo needed to learn how to trust Zangetsu, to let Zangetsu take Ichigo under his wing and train him. So he finally used Getsuga Tensho, which was an amazing ability where he was able to, I think, concentrate all his spiritual pressure in one strike attack, which was what we saw, which was epic. And then he kept again berating Byakuya to you better release your Bankai. Regardless, I'm gonna still destroy you. You better bring the Bankai. You're not gonna survive this. So after he opened up his Bankai and he thought Byakuya thought he had Ichigo on the ropes. Ichigo thought, you know what, at least I tried, but there was no way I was going to defeat you just in my Shikai form. I'm going to bring out my Bankai too. And then Byakuya had some sort of self-crisis moment because he was trying to figure out, how can this boy have Bankai? It's just you know, that Jackie Chan moment, just how, you know, he started listing off, and like I mentioned in my reaction, and I will actually, what was just an example. So the grandfather, Tenchi Muyo's grandfather, his name was, I couldn't remember his name, was Masaki. So Katsuhito Masaki. So he was the first prince of Jirai. So he was the prince who came to Earth. He was like, again, just like his son. He had his son, and then obviously Tenchi still had the ability. So I believe during this crisis that Byakuya was having, and from the information he told us as to these are the reasons and these are the only ways you could have the ability to have Bankai, how does Ichigo fit into this? I believe Ichigo is the son or it belongs to one of the noble houses. And the reason I said maybe his father is because one, his father, I'm assuming, we don't know, apart from obviously how his mom died, his father has the spirit, like they've got it from his side of the family, I'm assuming. His family have that spiritual awareness. His youngest sister can't, but they could pick up spiritual presence. They said that in the families there's only one every generation, after every several generation, that would be born to have that ability. So his father might have been from the noble family. He may have not had he may have not become a soul reaper, but if Ichigo is his son, then Ichigo might be one of the several in that generation from that noble house to be able to get Bankai. Ichigo, like I said in my reaction, always had high spiritual pressure. He always was rocking with this high spiritual energy. So I believe that Ichigo essentially is from the 4th noble house. We don't know nothing about that 4th noble house. We've been introduced to 3, Shiba clan, Kuchiki clan, and Shihoin clan, so we don't know the 4th, and I believe Ichigo's from that. Ichigo also takes the colouring of his mum, like I mentioned, so even if there was to be a resemblance in his father, there's no resemblance there with his dad. So, and again, this goes back to what I said about how I think that shrine, the woman in the shrine that Byakuya was talking to, if when you cleanse the soul of a hollow, comes into the soul society, and then a soul in the soul society goes into the world of the living, again, I don't know how it works, but I believe that either his father, or they don't mention his grandfather, maybe it was his grandfather, and then, but I somehow think Ichigo is related to somebody. I think his dad was from the 4th noble house, which allows Ichigo to have this strong spiritual pressure from the start. That's the only way I could think of, or will explain why Ichigo firstly had the ability to pick up and be a soul reaper. He absorbed Ichigo. He absorbed Rukia's spiritual pressure to become a substitute soul reaper. But when Urahara was training him, he was able to form that himself to be able to become a soul reaper. So that's what my theory is. And yeah, I can't wait to find out more, and I'm hoping we'll find out more. But I believe Ichigo's father was part of that noble house, who, at whatever reason, ended up in the world of the living, met Ichigo's mum, had a family. So that's what I think. So that's my theory there. So after his existential crisis, Ichigo finally transformed, and it was Tetsu Zengetsu looking sick with his black. His Zanpakuto had come down to a normal Zanpakuto, but it was like black. The steel looked black all through. He even looked like Zengetsu minus the glasses, and Byakuya was thinking, oh, look at your blade, it looks pathetic. He spoke too soon because Ichigo pulled up on him and he was about to stab him, and basically telling him what's up. So he stepped back and he basically said that this is the reason. He's like, the reason. Ichigo's basically said to Byakuya, you're the reason this is all happening. Your pride, the fact that you were going to go out of your way, execute your own sister, you come up and talk to me with all that shit. This is why this is happening. I trained, I got Bankai just so I could fuck you up, essentially. So Byakuya then said, you know what, that's a miracle, don't happen twice, and they started fighting. Ichigo was incredibly fast. He was going, really quick. Even Byakuya had to admit, he had to physically use his hands to move Senbon Sakura to get quicker. And then, just like Ichigo said, miracles happened a second time, and he stabbed him this time because obviously Byakuya was goading him about, you should have, your arrogance is going to cost you dearly. But I think Byakuya stopped the blade partially, so that blood may have been from his hand as well as being stabbed. And then Byakuya was going to, go into this next form. Byakuya's not in his final form, obviously. So that was amazing on their part. Obviously, when he transformed, so his Bankai, essentially, all the power of his Bankai has been transferred into his sword. Therefore, and in terms of, to substitute, his sword is incredibly sharp. His sword is stupidly strong, but in substitute of power, he got speed. He could move quickly. I mean, your Bankai, you could have all the power, but it's nothing if Ichigo could run up to you and slit your throat. So I really like the transformation of Tetsu Zengetsu. Beyond all of that, Team Ichigo have reached the bottom of the stairs of the Sokyoku, so I'm wondering if they're going to finally get up there and they're going to see all of that happening, or if they're going to even see Renji and Rukia on their way down. I don't know how long these steps are. Obviously Hitsugaya and Rangiku have made it to the headquarters. I mentioned in the reaction, I thought they were talking about Yamamoto, but it's, I don't know, whoever's in charge of the Soul Society. But somebody's there. The door's been locked from inside. There's nobody outside guarding, so something is definitely up. And obviously Momo, once they left her, she was still healing and unconscious, but she's now woken up and she's on her way to find the truth. So like I mentioned before, there's definitely something cooking up. I don't know if Gin is part of a bigger plan, if there's still something going on in that respect. They're gonna inform the higher ups about Aizen, so I don't know if they don't already know about Aizen, or if that's something that's reached them yet. And I want to see what Byakuya's final form is, or his second form, because he's about to release a lot of power. I think if anything, out of spite, Byakuya will destroy the Serite before he allows Ichigo to win. So I think there's a lot of pride there. And like I mentioned just in the beginning, they're two sides of the same coin. They both show immense power. You can see Byakuya, the way he was raised, and I think he was having a go at Ichigo about, I'm going to make you pay for coming here and disrespecting our traditions. So I think the way Byakuya was raised was very much, I wouldn't call it the straight and narrow, but very traditionalist, to the point he literally shows no emotion. He's literally just, you don't even know what's going on. So I'm really interested to see, how that family was on the come up. But I'm still very interested in the Kuchiki family. I'm still very much invested in the Kuchiki family. And I want to know who the fourth noble house is now. I'm very interested to see, we've been introduced to one member or a few members, one or two members from each house. I want to know who the fourth noble house, and I'm very, very much certain that Ichigo is either a son or part of that final house, or his father. He's got a family member, somebody from his family had come from the fourth noble house, which explains his which explains his huge spiritual pressure, and obviously why certain other characters have been recognizing his spiritual pressure throughout the show. But that was it. That was a fantastic episode. I'm really excited. I think we're coming towards the end of this particular arc, so I'm excited to see how it all wraps up. And as always, if you did like this video, like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.